Welcome to Real Estate 360, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Mike Ambrosio, will provide you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate, and much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host, Mike D'Ambrosio.
Welcome in. Good afternoon. This is Mike D'Ambrosio with Real Estate 360 Radio. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We are talking anything and everything real estate Monday through Friday. I'm on Mondays. Happy Monday, everybody. We're providing you great information and education. We have a great show for you in store today. I'll introduce my guest in just a minute. I'm super excited to have him in studio today. Just a reminder for those of you tuning in, there's a couple different ways you can listen to our show. That is on the radio at KDOW 1220 AM, KDOW 1220 AM. You could also listen to us live online at kdow.biz. And KDOW also has an app, so log into your app store and download it today. It's a really good app. I use it myself. We come to you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. We're a live show, so we love to hear your questions and get your phone calls if you'd like to chime in. Give us a call at 1-800-516-1220. That's 1-800-516-1220. And I like to hear your suggestions on future topics, guests, and content that you desire. The show's for you guys, and we love to provide you guys great content. Finally, if you missed any shows or want to sign up for updates, visit our website at re360radio.com. All right, so today in studio, we have Andy Armstrong with Meacham Oppenheimer. How are you doing, Andy?
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me on. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Andy is going to be talking about, and I don't think we've had a guest like this on RE360 for a long time. We're going to be talking about retail real estate. So,
correct. Yeah.
Andy is from Meacham Oppenheimer. Why don't you give your a little bit of background on who you are, where you're from, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Andy Armstrong. I work with Meacham Oppenheimer Commercial Real Estate, and we're a retail brokerage located in downtown San Jose. Mm-hmm. Been around since the 70s. We're smaller in the idea that we have just one location, but we've got 15 brokers that at any given time have manage over 150 properties, being landlord representation. You know, we have listings for lease, for sale. That equates to anywhere between like 5 and 6 million square feet at any given time. So although a little bit smaller, we do have just a tremendous grasp on landlord representation throughout the South Bay.
And just so people know, when you say a broker, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, and let me back up in terms of slang. When I refer to a broker, I may be referring to a commercial agent, right? So I don't have a broker's license. I'm licensed as an agent to practice real estate in California. Just like in residential, people may throw around realtor as slang for a residential agent, just using broker to say you're a commercial broker. Again, it's just slang, whether you have a broker's license or just an agent license.
Got it. So you're from the Silicon Valley originally, right?
Yeah, grew up in South Bay, Almaden Valley, to be exact. Attended Bellarmine College Preparatory. Go Bells!
Boo!
I know we probably met 10 years ago on the football field.
That's right. Actually, it's a funny story. Andy and I probably reconnected a couple years ago because we were doing real estate, and it's. We were talking, it was like, what year did you graduate? Oh, yeah, same year. And then it was like, did you play football? And I think we probably knocked heads a few times back on the football field. So
Yeah, exactly. And a little bit more on that, kind of our parallels. I started in the investment world on the residential side, selling foreclosures out in the Central Valley, kind of similar to your start, right? Right at the crash, right, in 2008. And so
we made the genius decision to get into real estate in 2008.
Yeah.
So that was smart.
Well, here we are. We're surviving and alive.
That's right. So. Well, let's get into what we're going to talk about today. Retail real estate is a lot different, obviously, than residential real estate. But for those of you business owners or people looking to get into business, Andy's the guy to talk to. And today we have a lot to cover. We're going to be talking about leasing, landlord representation, tenant representation, sales, whether you're buying as an investor or owner user, and sales, and he's going to go through some different scenarios and whatnot. So let's get into the first point, leasing and the role of the broker.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to back up a little bit, being in Silicon Valley, the good news is Silicon Valley real estate, right? If you're a seller, an owner, the bad news is you're in Silicon Valley real estate, right? Rents are high, prices are high.
Right.
So, and how does a broker come into play to help you, whether you're an owner or you're a tenant, kind of navigate these waters? And I think, on the residential side, you're a homeowner, you're looking to buy a house or you're looking to sell a house. I don't think you would think, twice about, I'm going to do this by myself, right? You're gonna engage in the services of a realtor, right?
You like to hope so.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we talk? But give me a little snapshot. I think I skipped over the what's the market like as far as the retail market goes. I mean, what are you seeing? What in residential? We all know the great buzzwords we've been using lately: low inventory. So what are you seeing as far as the retail market goes?
Well, it's pretty similar. Exactly what the residential market's doing. The retail market kind of lags behind that. Mm-hmm. And with the recovery or rebound, whatever you want to call it, in the housing market, we're seeing the same thing in the commercial, the retail market. Rents are high. Mm-hmm. Prices are high. There's a real lack of quality inventory on the market in terms of both for lease and for sale.
Yeah.
So it's a great time to be testing the market if you're a seller.
Right.
It's go ahead, Mike.
So do you think it's pretty difficult for, like, let's say a mom and pop shop that's looking for, they're looking for a specific type of product, or for someone to start up a business, would you say it's pretty difficult in this valley right now for someone to do that because of the lack of inventory and high prices?
It is. It is. It's challenging. It's challenging for tenants across all levels, and that kind of brings us into why the importance of engaging in the services of a commercial broker.
Right.
And some of these things are. The main things is a commercial broker is going to know the existing inventory that's out on the market. Unlike the residential market where there's an MLS, and maybe you can talk more about that. On the commercial side, there's no MLS for everyone to go to and pull up. Here's everything on the market. Right.
So you guys aren't mandated for that. So basically how it works for the listeners, in residential real estate, you are required, and most brokers will require you to be a part of your local board of realtors, which then makes you a part of the California Association of Realtors, which then makes you a part of the National Association of Realtors. So it's kind of a tiered thing. And why is that important for realtors to be a part of that? Because those trade organizations fight for your private property rights on behalf of realtors and property owners across the country. But it mandates a realtor to be a part of an MLS or multiple listing service, which everyone puts their properties on, and it's a place. It's almost like a market for all the properties to be listed on.
Yeah, the idea is that it's a real-time snapshot of the market and what's going on. And unfortunately for commercial, there is no such thing.
Right.
There are third-party advertisers and websites such as CoStar and LoopNet that people can put their properties on and elect to join, but there's no third-party local board that mandates that you have to belong to that. Right. So again, coming back is your local broker will know kind of the inventory, even in the lack of kind of an MLS.
Right. If you're just listening in, we're with Andy Armstrong from Meacham Oppenheimer. We're talking retail real estate today, something we haven't talked about for a long time in the show. If you have any questions for Andy, give us a call at 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220. Do you own a business? Are you looking for retail? Are you curious about your lease? Do you have a good lease? Maybe you don't. I don't know. So let's get back into it. So existing inventory.
Yeah, and that'll kind of lead into the next point of why it's important to engage in the services of your local brokers. They'll know what's off market.
Right.
A lot of times they'll be owners of property, and maybe they'll be operating their business out of it currently, or maybe they've got tenants in there, but they're on a month-to-month. They're looking for someone better, but a lot of times deals are done off market, both leasing and selling.
Right.
I had an example. I had these guys with a stereo business out of San Francisco looking for 7,000 square feet in the South Bay. Well, that's kind of a unique size requirement.
Yeah, it is.
It's 2,000 square feet. It's easy to find. We could find stuff larger, but that's kind of an area that not a lot of retailers operate in. So we were having a real struggle trying to find space. Well, another guy in my office had a business owner on San Carlos that was operating a business there for 30 years, was finally ready to retire. We made an offer and were able to do a deal, and my clients were happy and are there today, really happy. So
that's a great example, and I think and what you're trying to say is relationships and the off-market opportunities is what gets deals done in the retail market. Essentially,
a lot of times.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Okay.
And then again, the next point is what your broker will know is the zoning. A lot of times, you don't think about it in the residential market. How often are you checking zoning?
Right.
The property that your clients are looking at or buying, does it work?
Yeah.
Normally it's the size and the schools that does it work? Well, on the commercial side, it's the zoning really dictates. Can I go here or can I not?
Right.
And although that's the tenant's responsibility to ultimately look at, the broker does have a duty to at least kind of be a resource for that and do the preliminary checking and whatnot.
So what type of zonings are the major ones in retail?
Well, we could get into all the different zonings, but ultimately it depends. It depends on the city. It depends on the use. Different special overlays. It just depends.
Okay.
And that's the answer when it comes, a lot of real estate. The answer is it depends.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So
say that almost every day in real estate.
Yeah, exactly. And then kind of the other point of why to engage in the services of broker are the relationships.
Right.
Ultimately, just like in the residential market, you get to know your peers, who you're working with, and that brings a lot of different things to the deal.
I think it's huge because for those of you that don't know, before I came to Intero, I had my own brokerage, and when I came to a bigger company, that really opened up a whole new world of real estate, because you form relationships with people, and it's about your buyer and the financing and how strong they are and qualified and whatnot. That's huge, of course. But it's also about the agents that are involved, knowing that the other guy on the other side of the table is going to get the deal done and bring a competent buyer to the table, right?
And you're hitting on exactly what I was going to say next is that being represented by a broker brings you credibility in the retail side, right? Because what that says is that the broker that's bringing the tenant has already done kind of the initial vesting, pre-approving. I get this all the time where a client has been referred to me after they've started their search and maybe been looking for 4 to 6 weeks is, Andy, I call these brokers, but I don't get any calls back. What's going on? And first of all, you have to understand that as retail brokers, we get a million calls. I mean, for example, I got a call the other day on a retail space that I had, and a lady just wanted to know if I could put a restaurant in there because she wanted to be a server. Yeah. So I mean, these are the type of time wasters.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to a couple of those more points on the other side of the break. Stick with us. Give us a call if you have any questions. 1-800-516-1220. 1-800-516-1220. We're live in studio with Andy Armstrong from Meacham Hoppenheimer, talking retail real estate on AM 1220 KDOW.
For more information on today's program, visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Mike D'Ambrosio.
Welcome back. This is Mike D'Ambrosio on RE360 Radio, KDOW AM 1220. We are talking live in studio today with Andy Armstrong from Meacham Oppenheimer. We're talking the Silicon Valley retail market. We'd love to hear from you guys. Give us a call at 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220. If you have any questions, comments, do you own a business? Are you looking for retail? Are you curious about your lease? et cetera, et cetera. And it looks like we got a caller. We got Ben from San Francisco. Ben, are you there? Ben?
Hello. Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hey, Ben. It's Mike from RE360 Radio. How you doing?
Okay. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course. How can we help you?
I have a question regarding this, what they call a key money. It's like I'm trying to rent basically a space for a restaurant, but right now it was like it's a 4 walls. It's basically a warehouse.
Uh-huh.
But to get into it, they said, I need $50,000. I said, why am I paying $50,000 for 4 walls?
Right.
And they call it key money just to get in. So
Right.
I don't know what do they consider key money.
Yeah, typically, and the answer to your question, is going to be depends, right? But I can go back on kind of the broader spectrum of typically what key money would be is if there was existing FF&E in the restaurant space. That's
FF&E is
furniture, fixtures, and equipment,
Okay.
or maybe the previous operator went out of the space, was past due on rent, and instead of paying up current with the landlord said, you know what, I'll let you go, but you leave all of your FF&E. And then typically when they're releasing it, the key money would be the value for that equipment that the landlord's attributing for that equipment that you'd be then buying or getting into.
Right.
So that's where that $50,000 may be a part of some infrastructure that's already there from a previous tenant that the landlord is basically selling you.
And sometimes with restaurants, correct me if I'm wrong, there's some pretty considerable amount of investment, with point of sale systems, furniture, bar, that type of liquor license.
Oh yeah,
right?
Absolutely. All the soft costs, all the
It's
permitting.
nothing like that at all. As a matter of fact, I think the only FFE that I could think of is the hood, a 10-foot hood
Yeah.
for the cooking, but that's about the only...
Well, they might be overpricing their hoods then, Ben.
and again,
those cost no more than 10,000 have been sold like that.
yeah, and again, your answer it depends. But if there's a hood, there's probably a grease trap, and there's probably already been some sort of EPA hookup fees that have already been paid for the use of that grease trap. So again, it depends. We'd have to know a little bit more.
Right. And plus, it's San Francisco. You said that was in San Francisco, right, Ben?
Yes. Yes, it's in San Francisco. But yes, as a matter of fact, I know that anybody new, if the city requires a sewer hookup, that's another $15,000.
Yeah, it's not cheap. But San Francisco ain't cheap either.
Right,
Andy?
Right. I mean, in terms of vacancy rates, San Francisco is the lowest in the nation. They're somewhere around 3% vacancy rates. San Jose's in the top 10 at like number 5, I believe, somewhere around the 5 or 6%. But I mean, just like the housing prices that you have there, it's the hottest in the nation. So
Yeah.
That's what we were saying. The good news is it's Silicon Valley real estate. The bad news is it's Silicon Valley real estate.
Exactly. I like that. Well, Ben, why don't you...
thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. And why don't you stick around, and Kevin will get your info, and Andy would love to help you out and get more information on that space and provide you help. All right?
All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Ben.
you.
Yeah, that's interesting because, we were off air, we were talking about how tight the market is, in San Francisco especially, and we get a caller all of a sudden that is looking for space in San Francisco. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and go ahead.
So, all right, we got 30 seconds. Let's get to another quick point, and then we're gonna go to the break. But you wanted to wrap up with a little bit of the broker relationships and whatnot too.
Yeah. Just kind of wrapping up on that last point is, again, the relationships that the brokers have with one another. I don't know how many residential agents there are in Silicon Valley, how many commercial agents there are, but retail is a very small niche.
Yeah.
Right. And so just about every broker either knows of each other, has worked with each other in the past. It's a long-standing, real, small network.
That could be a good thing, or that can be a bad thing, right, Andy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we got a lot more to get to. I'm gonna have to stop because we got to take a break. You're listening to RE360 Radio and KDOW 1220 AM. Check in with us at 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220, RE360 Radio AM 1220. Take care.
For more information on today's program, visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Mike D'Ambrosio.
Welcome back. This is Mike D'Ambrosio on RE360 Radio, KDOW AM 1220. We are live in studio today with Andy Armstrong from Meacham Oppenheimer. Andy Armstrong from Meacham Oppenheimer. We're talking Silicon Valley retail market, retail real estate. Great topic, and I'm really excited to have Andy in studio today because, this is an important, I think, issue for a lot of the listeners because they're in business or they're business owners. And on that note, if you do own a business, if you're looking for retail, if you're curious about your lease, et cetera, give us a call. Give Andy a call, 1-800-516-1220. 1-800-516-1220, and he's also going to give his information after the end of the show, and you can get a hold of him that way too. All right. I want to wrap up kind of the first half of the show. We've been talking a lot about, knowing the existing inventory, knowing other brokers, knowing the zoning, knowing a lot, right? Knowing everything essentially, right? Because you don't have an MLS in commercial, multiple listing service. So therefore, there's a lot more legwork that's done and relationship work that's done amongst commercial brokers, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so why don't you give us a summary, like kind of an example summarizing all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. And, on the tenant side, I had a client come to me that was a CrossFit gym and said, Andy, we've been looking, we can't get anyone to call us back. And so you kind of take a step back and say, okay, what are you looking for? Well, first of all, it's really particular with the zoning, so that kind of pigeonholes you into a certain property type. So let's start looking at that.
Because it's a gym, or
because
okay.
Because of the use, it's kind of funky with the parking, etc.
Right.
It's not just a straight retail use. And then secondly, they're a startup business, so again, kind of the credibility. You get these calls all the time. Hi, I'm thinking about starting this so and so business, and you just can't call them back, right? Because it's a lot of legwork to go through.
Right.
Building the credibility and getting kind of the pre-approval. So then that's what I did with them as well, is kind of, okay, let's put a business plan together. Let's get the financials together so that when we do write an offer, the letter of intent, we've got all those three things ready to go, and that brings instant credibility right away.
Okay.
So anyways, we were able to find them a space that worked. They're happy, moving forward. And then on the landlord side, where your local broker can help you do landlord representation, is kind of the same thing. Is they know the market, they know who is looking for space, they know kind of the loose requirements of these different tenants that are looking for space. Mm-hmm. For example, I just recently did a deal with Sherwin-Williams. That's I don't know exactly their credit tenant.
Of course.
Credit tenant on the Alameda. This was an investor who bought the building, 10,000 square foot building, had 5,000 square feet available. We're trying to lease it themselves. Again, kind of that attitude. I can do this myself.
Right.
And in the end, I saved them a whole bunch of time and money by being able to identify who's out in the market that's looking for it.
Right.
What are the size that would work for them. And then, because there's no MLS, being able to sign up for the different services that we have, reaching out to the brokers that represent these different tenants that are looking, and we were able to get a deal done. So.
Would you say a lot of times with these national companies, they come in, do they usually have regional representation, or how does that typically work?
They do. Yeah. They do. They might hire a national company, and then that kind of trickles down into the regional and local brokers who will then represent them. And part of our job as, at Meacham Oppenheimer is generally on the landlord side is we know the tenant brokers out there and who they're representing and who they're running with. So if we get a listing, we can pump it out and market it to those brokers, and they'll tell you right away whether it's a fit or not. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on the other side of the break, we got to take a break, but we're going to talk about triple net leasing, fixing and flipping, and a bunch of other things. So if you have any questions, give us a call, 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220. We're on RE360 Radio, KDOW, AM 1220.
For more information on today's program, visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Mike D'Ambrosio.
Welcome back. This is Mike D'Ambrosio on RE360 Radio, KDOW AM 1220. We are live in studio today with Andy Armstrong from Meacham Oppenheimer. We're talking Silicon Valley retail real estate. And we'd love to hear from you if you guys have questions. We've got a great caller earlier. Give us a call at 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220. If you're a business owner, if you have any questions about that. If you've heard the term triple net lease, give us a call because we're going to talk about that right now. I know we hear that a lot, but let's, we've talked about why it's important to have representation, broker and retail real estate, because there's a lot of intricacies, ins and outs, et cetera, et cetera. So let's kind of talk about what type of, buyers there are, sellers, what is, why don't you explain a couple of the different niches that,
Sure, exactly. You've got a couple different areas where a broker can help you, whether you're buying or selling. And within that, there's a couple different tiers, right? Maybe you're an owner-occupier. You're a business that you're tired of renting. You need to own your own. Need to own your own building,
right.
And your local broker can help you get financed and kind of run the numbers versus rent versus buy. Same thing if you're in an apartment. Is it time to move on to a house? So, it's the same thing for retailers,
right?
Unfortunately, retail, there's just not a lot of inventory out there. Retail likes to be with retail, hence strip centers, shopping malls,
right.
And most of those are built, with just kind of one parcel, right? Someone owns the whole 100,000 square feet, and you're renting just 2,000 square feet of it, right?
So, and tip of the day, if you want to make a lot of money, own commercial shopping centers.
That's the goal, right?
That's the goal.
Absolutely. So, so for owner occupiers on the retail side, it is a little bit more difficult to find you a space than, say, if you were in office or industrial. It's easier if you're a freestanding business. It's easier to do that then. But again, a little bit more challenging, and so there's some intricacies in finding space. Moving onto the investment side,
right.
You've kind of got two different tiers of investors. You've got the active investors who are looking to add value, fix and flip, and then you've got the passive investors who are looking just for a coupon clipper, something purely to supplement income.
Okay.
And then
so let's talk about the fix and flip.
Yeah,
so what do you mean by that?
These are people who are looking for buildings that either need work, need to be repurposed, are fine in terms of the condition, but maybe the leases are not quite right. So there's a lot of intricacies that could happen in terms of leases and reworking the leases to add value to the building.
Because really, when you list a property too, and for those of you that might not know this, the leases are a bulk of the value as opposed to the land and the building.
Yeah, exactly. At least for investors, pretty much the value is derived from the value of the lease that's in place, and then the quality of the credit of the tenant that's paying the lease. So
it's kind of like multifamily, which is what I do, and it's the leases, right? Or it's the income, right, that you're getting from the leases is important. That's basically the value.
Exactly. So you could have the exact same building, the exact same income coming in, but it could be worth $1 million to $2 million more or less, depending on the quality of the tenant that's paying that, right? So, and we can get into that a little bit later here in triple net. But back to kind of the fix and flip people, this would be someone who's looking at a building that maybe the leases are older leases, they're below market leases, they're kind of a modified gross, so people maybe aren't paying all that they should be paying in terms of the landlord is taking on a lot more responsibility, and that kind of leads us into the highest and best lease to have on your property is what's called a triple net lease.
Okay.
And you had segued into that in the beginning.
Right.
And a triple net lease is a real buzzword. You hear that all the time, and people call in and go, well, what is this? What am I paying for?
Yeah.
and basically, that's an additional charge on top of rent that the landlord will charge a tenant back that takes care of all the property taxes, property insurance, and then the CAM, which is common area maintenance, which will be the.
So it's kind of like HOA for the. Similar.
If the HOA is taking care of, on a monthly basis,
right.
the roof and the property. I mean, for residential, you're going to have in addition to that your property taxes and property insurance.
Right.
So this is in terms of the HOA just for the CAM.
Okay, got it.
But these are things that the landlord takes care of for the benefit of the center. And how does he get repaid? Well, he gets repaid on a monthly per square foot basis on that. And you add up all those three numbers for the year, divide by the total square footage of the center, and then by 12, and then that gets you to your 30 cents, 50 cents CAM right there. So when we're talking about value, we're talking about on a triple net lease, say a tenant's paying $10,000 a month just in base rent, then they pay the additional 30 cents per square foot a month that'll take care of the rest of the things. So and that is the absolute best type of lease to have, because that means that from an investor perspective, you can live in a different part of the country because that the tenant is taking care of everything. Right. And we're oversimplifying in some cases here, but they do exist. And where the tenant takes care of everything. And that's where you get the term coupon clipper, the idea that all you have to do is open your mailbox and you've got a check every month.
That's really nice.
So, and then that, absolutely. So going back, the fixer and flippers are doing that. They're taking old leases and they're converting them to triple net, improving the value of the building, and then they can sell them.
Yeah. I want a coupon clipper.
Yeah.
Let's go find one. Let's go find one today.
I can help you with that.
No, sure. I think that was a really great explanation. I know a lot of people that maybe listen to the show or are interested in real estate have heard the term triple net. It's hard not to hear that term. Yeah. So I think that was a great explanation. We're going to have to stop because we got to take a quick break. You're listening to RE360 Radio on KDOW AM 1220. If you got any questions for Andy or for me, 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220. We're in studio with Andy Armstrong from Meacham Oppenheimer, talking Silicon Valley real estate on AM 1220 KDOW.
For more information on today's program, visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Mike D'Ambrosio.
Welcome back. This is Mike D'Ambrosio on RE360 Radio, KDOW AM 1220. We are live in studio today with Andy Armstrong from Meacham Oppenheimer, and we're about to wrap it up here, but it was a great topic today. I was glad because we don't normally talk commercial retail real estate, and people are been listening to me for months blabber about the low inventory in residential. Well, now they get to hear you talk about low inventory in retail, so sure, yeah. I'm glad. And why don't I want you to maybe wrap up a little bit with an example of a fix and flip. I think you might have something coming up, and Sure. And I mean, just to kind of prelude that, I mean, we didn't even get into the, cap rates and market and really into the investment market. So, yeah. So Andy will be on in a couple of weeks. We're going to have him come back and we're going to talk a lot more about
making sure to invite myself back.
There you go. That's good.
Didn't even get to half the show here.
I love it. I used to do that with Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. But, kind of to get back to the importance of, why to contact your local, retail broker is maybe you've got a property that you're asking yourself, I inherited this. Are the leases, bringing the most income in that's possible on the property? What's the current market doing for rental rates? Right. And then that kind of leads into, okay, what, if I do get in and fix the leases in terms of market rates and bringing them around to triple net, what's the new value? What's the
Right.
new value on that? And your local broker can help you with that and
Yeah.
answer that. And I do that a lot for a lot of my clients. For example, I've got a listing coming up on the Alameda. It's an area in San Jose in between kind of Santa Clara University and
Really
the
hot area right now.
Shark
Yeah.
Tank.
Yeah.
And again, this was kind of similar situation to what we were talking about. Inherited the property from the father, old leases, kind of were just done with a handshake. The tenants aren't paying what they should be paying.
Right.
There's a lot left to be desired. And so that's where, you're the broker and then I come in and kind of, okay, here are the renewals coming up.
Right.
These are the fair market rents that we could be at. By the way, we're going to structure them so that they're triple net. Let's figure out what your triple nets are that you should be billing back to your tenants.
Right.
And then ultimately, at the end of the day, once we kind of get those cleaned up, what are we going to sell it at?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, investors and tenants alike, they have a little bit of different mentality, right? They are where they are because they've taken a step and done something for themselves.
That's
so
true.
A lot of times they say, I don't need a broker. I can do this without. But ultimately, a broker is going to save you a lot of time and money.
Well, we all like that. So why don't you give your information, and if people want to get in touch with you and use your services.
Yeah, absolutely. People are welcome to contact me on my cell phone, throughout the day, 408-608-9593.
One more time.
408-608-9593. And I'll answer most times during the day, but if it's 10 p.m., you may hear from me the next day. So
well, at least you're honest.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, so question of the day: what city has the lowest vacancy rate in the country? What city has the lowest vacancy rate in the country? You can call me at 408-357-6177 with your answer, or email me, mike@re360radio.com, mike@re360radio.com. Hey, Andy, I really want to thank you for coming in today. I think it was a great discussion. I think, people probably understand the retail market a lot better now, and so thanks for coming on.
no problem. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Looking forward to having you back in studio. And thanks for listening in, everybody. You're listening to RE360 Radio, re360radio.com. We are live Monday through Friday on AM 1220 KDOW. That's RE360 on AM 1220 KDOW. Have a great week, everybody. I'll talk to you soon.
You've been listening to Real Estate 360 on AM 1220 KDOW. For more information on today's program, visit re360radio.com. That's re360radio.com. AM 1220 KDOW.